Hi, I'm back. I'm gonna go a little off the cuff today, which is always sort of wild. You never know what's gonna come out of my mouth to include me. I'm gonna put my notes over here. But basically, we're gonna put all this together. So, video number one, what the fuck is EFT? Why do I care? What can I use it for? Why is it important? Number two, the points. Three, let's put all of this together. So, when you are crafting your EFT statement. So we're always going to start with that. That's step number one, identifying the problem. What's in my way of getting what I want? And when you're identifying your problem, you're always working with how you feel today, right now, not how you want to feel tomorrow, not how you anticipate feeling during a conversation with somebody, not how you felt 3 years ago when somebody shamed you or told you were wrong or anything like that. So you're going to identify the problem in front of you in the here and now. That is step one. It's typically the thing you want to change, right? It's a negative feeling, it's a negative thought, it's a negative sensation in your body that's feeling distracting. And you want to be specific and you want to be descriptive to what's at hand. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're prone to anxiety, tapping on something as broad of anxiety, I have this problem and it's anxiety, that's really broad. But when you can pull back and say, like, what am I anxious about right now? What's sparking this now? Is it that you have a presentation, or is it that you have a conversation that's coming up, or um, a thought that you're trying to change, right? I'm a life coach. I do a lot of thought work. I have a lot of clients who are familiar with thought work. So sometimes the language I use is going to be overly familiar to that. But let's say that something that you have practiced thinking about yourself a lot is, I'm horrific at technology. I would know nothing about that. Um, when we believe the things that we tell ourselves, we're constantly looking for reinforcement in that. So, again, step one, identify the problem. And number two, rate your level of distress when you think about that problem. So, do you feel it anywhere in your body? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, nah, if mildly distracted or uncomfortable when I think about this problem. Number 10, level 10 being like, holy shit, this is super distressing. And a note on, if you're somebody who's experienced something extremely tragic or traumatic in your life, this is work that is definitely best done with a certified EFT practitioner. So I want you, if you're listening to this and that's resonating, ask for support. Reach out to me. You can work with me. I can give you some recommendations. But there's lots of things out there, and you don't have to do that on your own. See, I'm going off on a tangent. That's what happens when I go off script. So, number two, simply rate your level of distress. Where do I feel this in my body? Scale of 1 to 10, or how true does this feel to me right now? State your problem out loud or in your head if you're someplace where you can't get any privacy. But I do tend to find that when I remove myself from a situation and I am actually saying something out loud, even if it's just a whisper, I stay more grounded and I'm less likely to get distracted or overwhelmed by other things going on with me. And then I'm able to acknowledge and then process that emotion or that feeling or understand that thought more quickly. So this is what we call the setup statement, and it's when we give the truth, or we give a voice to the truth of how we're feeling, or the truth of what we're thinking that might cause us some discomfort or embarrassment. And we pair that with even though. So even though I am feeling all of this anxiety related to going on YouTube on the fly and messing up my words and having to do it all over again, or not getting it right the first time. And when I think about that, I feel defeated and I feel it in my shoulders, having to start all over again because it didn't make sense. So, a lot of times people ask, why do we focus on the negative? If I give a voice to that, if I talk, if I look at what's really going on in my life, aren't I going to feel worse? And no, you're never going to put a bad or a negative emotion or thought inside your body or inside your brain that isn't already there. Issue is that 95% of our programming is subconscious. And so when we're kind of ruled by those things, like sometimes it's totally normal to feel a little worse when we give attention to the negative things for the first time. So if you start kind of tuning into that and that scares you, it's okay. Know you're probably onto something, right? And you're just not used to acknowledging that. And so why this is important is because I want to think of this like a garden. And when you go to plant new crops or even just a flower bed, you don't go and throw seeds just over what's already there. You have to weed the previous growth, the old growth, pull out all the dead leaves, get that stuff out by the roots. And then you can plant new flowers, new crops, whatever it is that you're hoping for. So think of your brain kind of like that, right? In order to invite more of what you're looking for, what you'd like to feel, what positive or motivating thoughts you'd like to think, being able to acknowledge what's there and accepting yourself even with that is how we release those things and make room for how we want to feel and room for how we want to think about ourselves. So the next step, step 4, is you're going to pair that setup statement with an affirmation of acceptance. Not an affirmation of this is how I hope I feel, or this is how I wish I feel, or this is how I should feel. I accept myself even with this crummy ass thought, even with this crummy ass emotion. I accept how I'm feeling. I accept myself. If you're working on something and that doesn't feel true to you, I'm a huge believer in we don't lie to ourselves, right? Just play with the setup statement. I'm open to eventually accepting this about myself. So it would look like, even though I'm feeling all this anxiety about doing a YouTube video off the cuff, and I'm so worried that I'm going to screw it up and I'm going to look dumb and this isn't going to make sense and people aren't going to get it. And I feel this heaviness in my shoulders. When I think about it, I accept myself and I honor how I'm feeling. It's usually my go-to. So even though I feel this way, I accept how I'm feeling. And then we'll tapping through the points that I taught in the first video. I want to be redundant, so I'm not going to go through the points. I'm just going to launch into this. And so we always tap on that side of the hand point. So we begin here and we do the setup statement 3 times. And yeah, sometimes it feels redundant, but it is important because it's kind of cueing our brain into like, hey, we're coming to talk about this. Get ready. So even though, you can tap along with me if you'd like, even though I'm feeling anxious, actually the sensation's moved up to my throat now. I'm doing this video on YouTube, going off the cuff, not following my notes. I'm going to lose my train of thought. And I'm worried I'm going to screw it up. And it won't be right. And when I think about that, I feel this tightness in my throat at about a 5. And I feel this tightness in my shoulders, this heaviness at about a 7. Right here, right now, I accept myself and I honor how I'm feeling. Even though thinking about jumping on this YouTube video, feeling some anxiety. What if I screw it up? I'm not following my notes. Is this even making sense? I feel this tightness in my throat when I think about it, this heaviness in my shoulders. Right here, right now, I accept myself and I honor how I'm feeling, even though feeling this anxiety. What if I screw this video up? What if I'm not being articulate enough? What if nobody gets it? And I feel this stuck feeling, this tightness in my throat, and I feel this heaviness in my shoulders. Right here, right now, I accept myself and I honor how I'm feeling. Let me just tap through the rest of the points, giving a little bit reminder statement to cue into that feeling. So I'm going to screw up this video. It makes me feel anxious. Feel it in my shoulders, this heaviness. Feel this tightness in my throat. Thinking about going off script on this YouTube video. Feel this tightness in my shoulders. This tightness in my shoulders and in my throat. And then the last step is just reevaluate. Has anything shifted or changed? You will feel it when that happens. The statement that you've been trying to say feels a little less true, or maybe the feeling in your throat disappears entirely. And so being able, again, to acknowledge the truth of how we feel about something. And I've done lots of these videos. If you go on my Facebook page, Jess Johnson Coaching Services on Facebook, you can see I've done a lot of live demos on Facebook, particularly when like major things have happened in the world. And I know if I'm feeling awful, then other people must be feeling awful too. And so I've done several instances of jumping on there and doing live tapping demos, and you can watch me move through my own emotions. So today I did something that, certainly was a little anxiety provoking for me, but you can tell I'm not super getting sucked into that. And you always want to make sure you're tuning in, shifting how you feel before you welcome in any of the positive thoughts. Because if you don't kind of honor what's there, the resistance first, you're just kind of potpourriing over something that smells terrible, right? And so the bad thing, the rotting thing is still there, tainting the good smell, but it just kind of puts it off for a time. So if you have any questions, please let me know and work with me to get the hang of this much more quickly. Work with me to have a total transformation in your life. How I apply EFT in my 6-month coaching package when I work with my clients is we start by helping you define what are the current thought patterns that are getting in your way of what you want to be doing. And then we capture the resistance, the emotion that feels so terrifying to do something new, to believe something new about yourself, to believe that you can go and be bold and do something that scares you and set boundaries or take care of yourself, whatever that might be. Working with an EFT practitioner, working with a coach like me or me, it's going to get you there faster. And in 6 months from you watching this video and then booking a consult with me and getting started, your life could look amazingly different. And it doesn't have to be bad to want to make a change. 12 years ago, I was living in Maryland and just feeling like there had to be more to my life. And if I had reached out for support then and done some things differently, I would have gotten there a lot faster. And sitting from where I am now, none of that's a problem. I'm so grateful for the things that I experienced. But it's also nice to know, knowing what I know now and knowing what support I look to when I want to make a big change. So, see, going off on a tangent now. So I'm going to end this and let me know what you think.